Welcome back to All Yankees Talk. I'm Delilah Bork.
I'm Jordan Lorenz, and I can't wait to talk some Yankees prospects, some Yankees baseball, some World Baseball Classic, spring training. We got it all.
Absolutely. I think that the most interesting or concerning news that came out of this weekend is Cody Bellinger's apparent back injury. The team right now is saying that it is just a little bit of tightness, that he is just feeling discomfort. But I feel a little bit concerned purely because that's what they were saying about Cam Schlittler too. And then Cam Schlittler didn't pitch from the mound for 2 weeks. So I feel like the Yankees are pretty good at playing off maybe something that you would otherwise want to be concerned about as just a little bit of discomfort.
Yeah, I think at this point in the season, you have a little more leverage, I guess is the right word to put it, to like kind of hide these kind of injuries and not necessarily reveal the full details because it's spring training is, a couple weeks left, World Baseball Classic coming up, obviously. But Cody Bellinger is a guy where the Yankees are going to need him. I mean, they just paid him all of this money. This is a guy that was number one priority in spread or in the free agency to go out and get, and they got him. Obviously, he was here last year and everything like that. But if they didn't bring back Cody Bellinger, we would be looking at a completely different Yankees team. Like the only reason a lot of people are content with the like run it back mentality is because Bellinger's back. And I still, I mean, you could go back and forth his contract time and time again. I still think he got overpaid, but in the market, like that's what you had to pay him. And the Yankees stood their ground that they added the opt out or whatever it was, but they didn't have to go the full 7 years like this kid was looking for. I mean, it's just kind of crazy, but he said it's just a little unaligned. It creates a little bit of tightness. I've had it before multiple times. I just know it's a few days thing. So I think that's kind of interesting. And then Boone responded kind of echoing the same thing. He said he'll probably, I'm guessing, miss maybe a couple of days. And then he said this is something that crops up on him every now and then, usually sometime in the spring or earlier in the year. We dealt with it a little bit in season early last year. So it seems like it's just one of those like nagging injuries that's kind of early on, whether it's kind of the discomfort of getting back into the rhythm or one of those things where, hey, you worked out, you hit in the off season, but you're not like playing these games. You're not kind of going at it in that sort of aspect. So maybe not as much room as concern as there should be, but at the end of the day, like the Yankees outfield is not the deepest in the MLB. They've got
Mhm.
three very quality outfielders who can all basically outperform a lot of the outfielders out there. But depth wise, I mean, it sometimes it feels like it's Spencer Jones or bust. So if you're losing a key outfielder like this, that is the last thing you want. And I don't know. I mean, this team's dealing with enough injuries as is. So like the last thing you wanted is to hear something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost describe it as a nightmare if Cody Bellinger is seriously injured. The Yankees will play Team Panama tomorrow, and Brian Hoke of MLB.com said that Boone thinks that he will be back in the lineup tomorrow. It remains to be seen. Fortunately, they have a day off today, so everyone gets an extra day of rest. There's no spring training game today. But I completely agree with you. I think that they paid the market for Cody Bellinger. They certainly could have paid more. I mean, Scott Boras, his agent, was looking for just an absolutely ludicrously long and ludicrously priced contract for a guy of his age. I mean, Bellinger's a great player. He's a former MVP, but he was MVP like in 2019. I think that that's something to keep in mind. But then the Yankees, on the other side of that, sort of hinged all of their hopes for the offseason for this season on Bellinger. So if he is out, I think really for anything longer than maybe a couple of weeks at some point in the season, that will be really disastrous for the Yankees. Because I mean, outfield depth they have. Dominguez can play outfield. They can cobble something together with maybe Rice in the outfield and Goldschmidt at first base, but that's not ideal. And I think that the cornerstone of this team is Cody Bellinger and Aaron Judge, and to a lesser extent, Trent Grisham in the outfield. Those are all players who field well and can hit really, really well. And without Bellinger, I think that you're looking at a team that's like even worse than 2025. It's not even running it back, it
Yeah.
somehow got weaker. Um, so definitely
Hmm.
something to look
That's
out
that's
for.
like the
Oh,
big thing.
yeah, yeah, something to look out for. We'll see if he plays tomorrow. I mean, hopefully, he's back and in top shape. And on Thursday, we'll be saying, oh, it seems like it really wasn't that big of a deal. But I do think that this team has a tendency to sort of downplay some of these injuries for you know, Volpe last year, even for some of the for Clark Schmidt, I feel like it was like, oh, his arm hurts, and then it was like, oh, actually has a UCL tear, and he is going to need Tommy John surgery, and he is out
Right.
possibly even for this entire season. So we'll have to see. In sunnier news, the top 30 prospect rankings for 2026 per team have been released today, and I think that there are some interesting shakeups that we want to get into.
Yeah, to the Yankees, one of the first, whatever is it, 6, 8, 10 teams, whatever it is, they revealed the NL and AL East today. So by the end of the week, we'll know the top 30 prospects for every team. But no big surprise, George Lombard is still this team's top prospect. I mean, he's been showing that so far in spring training. They've been testing him everywhere too, which I think is a ton of fun. Aaron Boone said defensively, like he's ready to be a big league player. He's primarily a shortstop. That's where the team would love to have him, and I think that's where they need him the most. But they've been playing him at second and third, and he basically has highlight reel plays at every position he's played so far in spring. So him at number one is no surprise. I think the most interesting part of the top 30 list is the ETA. So I did an article on this today where I kind of broke down. Obviously, I talked about the top 30, but then looked at the ETAs because I think that's extremely interesting to see which of
Absolutely.
these are going to be. It's still an estimate at the end of the day. So we never really know if they're going to actually be in the big leagues or not. But obviously, the two main ones are they're numbers 2 and 3, excuse me. Right-handed pitchers, Carlos Grahe and Elmer Rodriguez. Those are the two we've talked about already a lot on these first 3 episodes. And we're going to keep talking about them because when it comes to Yankees pitching prospects, those are the top two. I mean, 3 of the top 5 are all right-handed pitchers. So it's very important to look at these guys as to where they're going to fit in later in the year because both have an ETA of 2026. So that means at some point, these two guys are expected to be on the big league roster. Are they ready yet? Potentially. I don't know. Still too early to say. I mean, Liraje is out there throwing 100 miles an hour, 102 miles an hour. He's throwing his stuff. Rodriguez has been extremely consistent. So both of them are doing very, very well so far. And that's the top 3. It remained the same. A big note is Spencer Jones fell off a little bit, not too much, but still enough to make note. No longer in the top 5. Spencer Jones, the Yankees outfield prospect, is listed at number 6. And I think when it comes to prospects who are going to be promoted, I think even though he's number 6, he's probably still going to be the first guy the Yankees see, other than there's a pitcher we're going to get to, which things are interesting because of the Rule 5 draft. But Spencer Jones, outfielder, I think the Yankees are going to see him. And I mean, hey, if there's a Cody Bellinger injury, this guy could make the opening day roster. Like, obviously, you've got your Dominguez and everything like that we've talked about before. And now I don't know. I think Spencer Jones at 6 is still fair. I mean, I like Ben Hess above him. So the moves that were made were right-hand pitcher Ben Hess. He's now at number 5, and then shortstop Dax Kilby is at number 4. So Kilby's still really nowhere near coming to the big leagues. He's a 2028 ETA. But Ben Hess, I know Joe just did a fantastic article on him either today, yesterday, and it was very recent. That pitcher is something else. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about guys who are really coming into their own. Ben Hess is up there for sure. So he's not a name you want to really worry about this year potentially join the big league roster. But I mean, my goodness, he's going to fly through the minor leagues. But Spencer Jones, Liraje, Rodriguez, 3 of the top 6 prospects are all 2026 ETAs. And Delilah, before we get to the rest, just kind of your overall thoughts, I guess, on those top 6 and kind of where things are saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that Lombard is listed as a 2027 debut. I mean, I don't think that that is a change from last year. It's not like he was expected to debut this season and now they're pushing it back. But I certainly think that he's a prospect to watch. Obviously, he's their top prospect. And I would be curious to see how his AAA season goes. I think that'll really be something to watch. And as far as Jones goes, I was a little bit surprised because I do think that he has continued this really high production. Obviously, they just have they got new rankings, have new guys over him. And I will be curious to see where he slots in this year because there's also a universe where, ideally the starting outfielders that the Yankees already have are pretty healthy. Judge had about a month long injury spell last year. But Bellinger was very solid. I know we just talked about him having some back discomfort, but could be nothing. And yeah, I think that I'll be really curious to see if he does end up debuting, or maybe they wait and say, hey, you can come for a game in September when maybe we're more secure about our position in the postseason. Who knows? I think that'll be really interesting to watch. And I feel like he is, even though he's not the top prospect, in fact, now he's number 6. I think that he's one of the buzzier names on the Yankees team purely for his like phenomenal hitting power and the sort of boom or bust. It feels like he either hits a home run or he strikes out. Um, and I completely agree with you. I think that would certainly have an opportunity if something happens to those top 3 guys. Trent Grisham tears his UCL somehow, and then maybe we're seeing Spencer Jones every single day. But the other thing we have to remember that we've talked about a lot is that he's really untested at the MLB level. In fact, I think that this spring training is so far the toughest test for him because he is facing more pitchers in the MLB or more pitching prospects that are higher up in other teams' farm systems. So he's one to watch. And I also think one of the biggest takeaways is how incredible the Yankees pitching rotation could be if things with Legrand and Rodriguez pan out the way that we think they're going to. Yankees have a lot of left-handed depth in both hitting, batting, and pitching. So would, if I'm the Yankees, I want to get another couple right-handers that I feel are MLB ready as soon as possible. I mean, it might end up being that they somehow like expand the rotation, or maybe there are a few games that they give these guys just because they feel like they're ready. Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon should both be coming back, and I think that there's a world that those guys come back. I mean, it's difficult to come back from such a lengthy injury recovery. I certainly don't expect Cole in particular, to necessarily be his old self right away.
Mhm.
But I think that you wait till end of July, maybe. And if Rodriguez and Legrand debut, and then there's Schlittler and Fried and Rodon and Cole, it's going to be like, well, who do we even start today when we have all these phenomenal pitchers? I would even say that that gives them better trade capital. No one
Mhm.
necessarily wants to see their best prospects traded away. But at the end of the day, if you have 8 pitchers that you wish that you could put into your starting 5, that gives you insane trade capital, in my opinion. And the Yankees, like we've talked about, love to trade very aggressively at the trade deadline and are more hesitant, in my opinion, to pursue potential needs in the off season. I wrote a piece about this last week. You know, last year they didn't really address third base until the very last minute. This year there's been some issues again, like at third base, for example, at shortstop, because Anthony Volpe is a struggling player, and has been for a few years. Um, and the Yankees, instead of sort of trying to foresee an issue with any of that, sort of went more for where do we want to bolster and kind of wait and see. So I think that those guys, one of them could end up being a trade piece, I think, later in the season, depending on how things go and what the Yankees decide that they need when it's the end of July.
Yeah, I think the big thing as you go down the list, obviously through number 30, there are a ton of right-handed pitchers all projected to pitch in the big leagues this year, which is certainly the big thing because I don't think you want to move on from a guy like Legrahe or Rodriguez, especially at this point in their careers. But sometimes you want to win now. Sometimes you think you have a World Series team, you're just one piece away. Our number 3 prospect, we don't need him anymore. Let's go win the World Series this year. We don't even have to think about him. But I think that's one of the big keys too when people talk about these lists is just because George Lombard or Spencer Jones is rated lower than George Lombard and he gets, say, promoted earlier, you can't take the rankings for granted because it's a team needs type thing, right? So Lombard could be 5 times the player Jones will ever be, but he's a shortstop. And if the Yankees need an outfielder, they can't call up Lombard to play in the outfield. So, yes, you have to look at You can't take the ratings for a grain of salt because obviously these guys are all ranked where they are for a reason, but position needs are going to trump skill at the end of the day, which does sound kind of crazy, but that's just the way the game is. There's really nothing you can do about it. It's not, you can't move guys' positions. You can't kind of force them up when they're not ready. Anything like that is just going to derail everything. So the other people on this list, I noticed I actually did miss one this morning because there's four other pitchers projected to pitch in the big leagues in 2026. So number 17 is Cade Winquist, who is a very interesting name, Rule 5 draft pick from the St. Louis Cardinals. So if the Yankees don't put him on their opening day roster, he's going right back to St. Louis. So that is a huge decision that this team is going to have to make because if they don't put the righty in their bullpen, Winquist is gone. Just like that. It had been, I think, 14 years, I want to say, since they took a Rule 5 draft pick like this. And it's been, what is it, 1970 something was the last time one of their picks like stayed in the big leagues a full year. So the odds are certainly stacked against him, but I think if you're the Yankees, you have to give Winquist a look at least. It doesn't really matter if you put him on the opening day roster and then end up getting rid of him in 2-3 weeks even. I think you just have to at least give him a look. So that's why his ETA is where it's at. And then there are three others. Number 22, Brendan Beck. He's a right-handed pitcher, as are righties number 27, Harrison Cohen, and number 28, Eric Rezelman. So there's a player on this list, number 29, Manny Sedano, who is a 2031 ETA. So it kind of goes to show the depth the Yankees have. He's the only player in this one in the 2031. Steven Marenes, number 19, is a shortstop at 2030. But other than that, that's kind of a look at our top 30. Didn't know if you had anything to round out the comments before we move to our next topic.
Yeah, just that I think that hopefully I agree with you that hopefully Winquist will be on the opening day roster purely because I think that they need bullpen depth almost more than they need anything else.
Mhm.
And he's been having a pretty good start to spring training, and I'll be curious to see what he can do. But speaking of spring training, as it moves on, we are finally getting into the 2026 World Baseball Classic. Ryan Yarbo has been added to the Team USA roster, which is really exciting. Obviously, notably, Team USA is captained by Aaron Judge, and David Bednar is going to be one of the relief pitchers for Team USA. So I'm really excited to see where things go. I mean, it's sort of like the Olympics or the World Cup. We only get the World Baseball Classic every few years. And a lot of major leaguers opt out of it. Aaron Judge famously opted out in 2023 because he had just signed this big extension with the Yankees and said that he wanted to focus on the Yankees. So I think he is ultimately the player that I'm most excited for. I mean, there's also Pittsburgh Pirates ace Paul Skeens and Detroit Tigers Tarek Skubal will both be starting pitchers for Team USA. Those will be exciting guys to watch. But I also think that seeing what Aaron Judge can do in international play is just going to be so thrilling.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you want to play against the best to prepare yourself for the best. And I think there's really no better opportunity than this. I think not necessarily Team USA, they may not win it all, but they do have a lot of talent. And obviously, when you're looking at the grand scheme of things, four of them are Yankees. So it's really nice to see that on a 30-man roster, the Yankees have four of those spots. I know the thing with the new addition is Joe Ryan, who is on the Twins, who had to opt out because of his back. He's on like a round by round basis, I think they're calling it. So at any point, Ryan, if he feels good and he's good to go, boom, they're going to take him. And then that's going to take Yarbo's spot right back out. But I mean, still cool that he makes the opening day, quote unquote, opening day roster of the World Baseball Classic. So there's a lot of Yankees representing a whole lot of teams. I do think the whole every 4 years Olympic type thing hasn't really caught on in baseball yet, but I feel like it's growing. Like we're certainly getting there. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun to see Team USA take on some of their own in Pool B play, which is one of the big things. You got Jazz, who's a second baseman. He's a co-captain of Team Great Britain. Right-handed pitcher Brendan Beck, who we did just mention. He is also on that Great Britain squad who's in Pool B. So other than that, there are a bunch of other Yankees players that are going to be facing each other. You go to Pool D, Israel, Harrison Cohen, the infielder. He'll be in Pool D along with, and he'll be playing against, I should say, Dominican Republic's Ahmed Rosario, Camilo Duvall, and Austin Wells. So three big-time players there for the Dominican. That'll be a lot of fun to see them get to play in Miami. And then Pool A from Puerto Rico, Fernando Cruz and Elmer Rodriguez, pair of righties for the Yankees. They'll eventually be squaring up against Panama's Jose Caballero. So a lot of Yankees. Baker's dozen actually on the World Baseball Classic. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think rightfully so because the Yankees have a lot of top players and they deserve to be featured in these games. I mean, you're looking at say like an Israel team in Pool D who's probably not making it out of pool play, but that doesn't mean it's not cool to see a Yankees player represent them on there. So World Baseball Classic right around the corner. I'm kind of sad. I was gonna try to go to one of like the exhibition games because the Yankees obviously for it's like an hour and a half for me, and then the
Mm,
Tigers they play Panama as well. So both of them were like under an hour for me. Ended up scheduling wise not going to be able to make it work, but still, I mean, just a lot of fun to see these exhibition type games take place of spring training. But Yankees will be back in it a couple days from now. I know some people will be disappointed. You won't have your guys like Judge and all that on the team anymore, but like it's spring training at the end of the day. You just got to be grateful you got to see Judge play a game or two anyway. So, World Baseball Classic
absolutely.
right around the corner. Definitely can't wait.
I think that if you're a US based Yankees fan, you are probably so thrilled with the way it's worked out for the World Baseball Classic. I mean, all of the games that the Yankees will be playing in pool play are in either San Juan, Houston, or Miami. So you don't have to try to catch a game that's being, broadcast in Tokyo. Not that there's
At
anything wrong with
5
that, but
a.m.
if you want to see your Yankees players play and facing off against one another is going to be so exciting. I also think it's such an interesting reflection of how, like, when you watch national teams come together, like Jazz, for example, is eligible for Team Great Britain because he's Bahamian, which I think is just so interesting to see where these guys end up. Austin Wells, I believe, was born in the US but has Dominican heritage, so he's going to play for Team Dominican Republic, which my opinion, that's I think my favorite to win the World Baseball Classic this year. I know that there's going to be a bit of a showdown, people think, between Team USA and Team Japan, just like people feel like there's a big showdown between the Yankees with Aaron Judge and the Dodgers with Shohei Ohtani. I see it, but my pick for the World Baseball Classic is the Dominican. I think that they're going to come back. I know that they've won a few times and won
Hmm.
other international competitions before the first iteration of the World Baseball Classic. So I think it'll be super fun to watch. And like you said, people rightfully do get worried about the star players sort of not participating in the league play so that they can play in international play. And that's a dominant concern almost across sport. Sidney Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins, captain for Team Canada, got injured at the Olympics. They won the silver medal and is now out for a month. Back in NHL play. And something very similar could happen, but I also think that the perspective is this is a preseason tournament that is happening before opening day and is not so intensive, I think, as other styles of international competition. So it's exciting to watch. It'll be some good baseball to really ramp up and warm up for the season. And speaking of actually spring training, the Yankees spring training record is not astounding in the sense that they've never lost a game this year. They're 8-2, but they're outscoring their opponents 79-29, which is just absolutely insane. I mean, that is a rate of almost 10 no, I did the math wrong. Almost 8. I was looking at 8-2, and
Same
then I
thing.
just yeah. So it's basically almost 8 runs per game, which is insane, and I think really reflective of what this Yankees team is, which is really high scoring. There was a game last week that I wrote a recap of purely because I was so flabbergasted. They beat the Twins 17 to, I believe, 5, and the Yankees had 5 different players hit home runs. So they are just absolutely steamrolling over some other teams. And I think that that's just very reflective of what the Yankees tend to do. I think last year I recall they had some sort of crazy scoring differential in the first like 2 months of the season.
Hmm. I mean, you're outscoring teams by 5 runs a game in spring training. Like it's pretty crazy what they're doing, especially when they got shut out 2-0 in the first game, put up a 20 piece in game two, and then like you said, 17 piece in Minnesota, not in Minnesota, against Minnesota. But I mean, just this team, I think the main thing is not only are the bats coming alive, which we all knew was probably going to happen, we all expected this offense to pick up right where it left off, but this also goes to show how well the pitching has done too. And yes, you're going against guys who are maybe big leaguers, but they're only playing one or two at bats, and then you're kind of getting some of their prospects. But still, to see your prospects outduel them is very impressive. And I mean, a 50 run differential through 10 games is insane, and it's still super early, and you don't want to peak too early or anything like that, but just an overall very, very good sign for the Yankees to see where they're at. I mean, they lost 2 of their first 3, and now look at where they are. So you never want to take spring training and have your overreactions or anything like that. Certainly, people are going to put their opinions out there, but I have really nothing but positive things to say about this Yankee squad so far. I know when I think it was our second episode, we did our biggest winners and losers list, and there was like only one overwhelming loser because everyone else has been like doing fantastic. And I think now even it would be really hard to come back on Thursday and be like, let's do a winners and losers thing because I don't even know who we would put in there. Like everyone has been just up to par so far, and it's really great to see.
I completely agree. I also think that it's good, even though, we always say to take the spring training games as with a grain of salt, but in the same way that there's a caveat that they are playing teams that are putting up their prospects or guys that maybe wouldn't get a ton of starts otherwise, the Yankees are also doing that. So it's sort of like the Yankees prospects and maybe their starters only play a couple at bats, they're doing the same thing. So I think that overall, it's not like the Yankees are putting their regular starting lineup, so that's why they're able to crush another team. So I think that that's a really good sign, and I think that it's good to watch the Yankees beat teams that tend to be a problem for them. There was that game against Toronto last week that before it started, I was like, I wonder what's going to happen because for whatever reason, last season they just kept falling to Toronto, who obviously then they went to the World Series. They lost to the Dodgers, but they were the best team in the AL. So there's nothing wrong with losing the overall series throughout the season to the Blue Jays. But when you're in the same division as another team, you play them a lot. So I think it's very demoralizing to see, oh man, the Blue Jays are coming up, and for whatever reason, we can't ever get more than one win in a series against these guys. And they'll be playing the Red Sox on, I believe, Wednesday on the 4th.
Yep.
And that I think is another similar. The Yankees, as a whole, are a bit stronger than the Red Sox, tend to dominate them a little bit more in recent history. But in a similar vein, it's fun to play a rivalry game to beat your division rival, even if it's in spring training. So I think it points to a pretty strong start to the season, and I'll be really excited once opening day rolls around. And now that it's finally March, opening day is going to be this month. It's in
We
about 3 weeks.
so close. I was going to say the Red Sox game too is on ESPN. So if you're one of the people who isn't local or not listening to the radio or however you've tuned in or listened to your game so far, that one's actually on ESPN, which is cool that I'm not really the biggest fan of like the MLB ESPN partnership for streaming and everything with, especially now with the new MLB TV and everything like that. But still, if you have ESPN, which I know a lot of people do, Yankees Red Sox on ESPN this Wednesday, which is nice to just see a little bit more spring training exposure because MLB Network will throw on random games, but half the time, if it's your team, it seems to be the opposing team's broadcast that you're stuck watching, and they never even talk about your team. So, just a silly little note there. But Wednesday, Yankees Red Sox ESPN, and yeah, that's what we got.
Should be a good one. If you're me, you sometimes just follow along by watching the play-by-play on Google. So
Yes. I used to do that
um,
all the time. I would work when I was working at a bank. I would put this was when I was back in Wisconsin, so I'd always have I wasn't working in the lobby where I couldn't turn the Brewers on the TV. I would be in the back in the drive-through. I'd have because we had two computers in the back, so I'd have my work computer where I'm like doing my job, and then my other computer when there's no one here, I would have that ESPN thing on, and that's where it would say in play run with the S in parentheses,
yeah.
and oh boy, exhilarating times. But yeah, I
There's
love that.
nothing funnier than watching a tight game via just like one line updates and you're glued to your computer like
It's
what's gonna
horrible. It's the
happen.
worst thing ever. Or when you have a game that, like, you're trying to watch and it's just constantly buffering or nothing's ever working, and then you're like, "Let me just open my phone," and you were 3 minutes behind the whole time, and everyone already knew what happened, but
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, don't forget to like and subscribe to All Yankees Talk. We do new episodes every Monday and Thursday, so you'll see us back in a couple of days. And Jordan, I'll talk to you then.
Perfect. Thank you guys. We are up to almost 70 subscribers, I believe. So let's get us to
Woo!
75 by the next one, and then we'll hit 100. We'll get there.
Yeah. Once
Bye, guys.
once we get 75, it'll all be rolling. Bye.
Yes, absolutely.